She covers the Wild for NHL.com. She also co-hosts Bar Down Beauties, and she joins us. I'm so happy, Jessi, that you found some time for us here on a very busy day. The series is now 2-2. A Wild one last night in St. Louis. What are the clubs saying today on the off day?
I mean, not a whole lot, right? I think it was one of those forced off days where they had to talk to us and they didn't have much to give us at all. But series tied 2-2, coming back to Minnesota for game 5. I think, people expected it to be a tight series. So after game 1, might have looked a little lopsided, but certainly both squads have turned it up and kept things interesting. A couple lineup changes potential for both teams going into tomorrow. But we'll know a little bit better there. The coaches are very tight-lipped right now, Rod. They're not giving us much, which can be a little frustrating from the media standpoint.
Oh, yes, absolutely. But for the poolies, and we're running one here at officepools.com, and of course, Bet Regal, our exclusive betting partner, they'll want to know what's the injury updates or the lineup changes. Do you have anything there?
It looks like for St. Louis, Nick Leddy is very decent enough to return, as is Bortuzzo. No update on Scandella for St. Louis, but those two D are key to the Blues' success, really. I mean, we saw how Nick Leddy shut down Kirill Kaprizov in game 1. He has missed the past couple games, and in Minnesota, for at least 2 of those instances, was able to get past a depleted blue line. But getting those 2 guys back will be huge for St. Louis, not so huge for Minnesota. Lineups there depend on just maybe fresh legs. Dean Evson said that they take a look at their lineup each and every single day and make a decision. He said they certainly have considered doing some fresh legs. But again, the series is tied 2-2. So from Minnesota's perspective, I don't know that you need to necessarily shake things up, whereas St. Louis is just looking to get healthy. So keep an eye on those 2 defensemen to return for St. Louis tomorrow, probably.
What was your take? I don't know if you made a prediction on the series, but I think I said Wild in 7 because I knew that they've had monstrous struggles with the Blues. So it's going that way. How did you think this series was going to go in terms of length and who would come out on top?
Yeah, I thought Wild in 6 for sure. I think they struggle with St. Louis for whatever reason, and it's hard to ignore the fact that there's obviously a mental component. They are in their head constantly. But when you got those 2 wins too, that looked good. Minnesota, on paper, their skill is very, very strong. I mean, I think they expected St. Louis to be the St. Louis of the past where they're super big and physical. And the Blues still try to play that way, but they're missing a lot of those guys that were that team, that successful Stanley Cup team. So they're very different. Tarasenko's been oddly quiet, which is scary to think about, but also really good for Minnesota. They keep playing their game. I think Minnesota should be able to close out the series here and advance to the second round if they focus again on their game on the ice and don't let anything get too much in their head as far as being St. Louis this, St. Louis that. And they've got home ice advantage too, so leveraging that to the best of their ability will be huge as well.
Well, it's been home ice has been a big deal in these Stanley Cup playoffs for certain teams, and I assume Minnesota is one. Listen, I won't keep you much longer, but I mentioned Jordan Binnington made 28 saves in his first start. What's the deal in the Blues crease? Like, are we going to see Binnington the rest of the way, or what are they saying about the fact that it's been a revolving door?
I mean, I think you probably do go back to Binnington. As everybody knows, you ride the hot hand. And Ville played well in game 1. And then Minnesota posted 11 on him. So St. Louis absolutely had to make that change. And, as Minnesota Wild would have it, they seem to have a knack for performing poorly against goalies making a debut, goalies that tend to struggle, goalies who are 0-9 since they won the Stanley Cup, like Jordan Binnington. But yeah, I imagine St. Louis goes back to Bins and say, why not? Depending on how game 5 goes, I imagine another change. But similar, if it ain't broke, why try fix it? So I would imagine we see Jordan Binnington again tomorrow night.
Yeah, and my last one is Kaprizov. If memory serves, because I'm trying to keep my head on 8 series, plus what's going on with teams outside of the playoffs, like Trotz getting fired today. Was that the first hat-trick in Wild history that Kaprizov scored earlier on in this series? Like, we're seeing why they are paying the man what they're paying the man.
A little bit, right? Drew Doughty might disagree, but I think everyone else agrees that he is worth every single penny. First playoff hat trick. So I think there was a little bit of confusion when people were tweeting about that on social media. Kirill Kaprizov has scored a hat trick. Let's clear that one up. He has had a hat trick before, but it is the franchise history first playoff hat trick ever. And again, that's just another feather in his cap for all the records that he continues to break for the franchise. It was huge for him because, again, he is a superstar. He's getting paid the superstar bucks, but that has been kind of the question around him. He started the year off a little bit slow, and I laugh because slow meant he wasn't scoring goals. He was just assisting on them instead. But you got to show up in big games, and he did in that playoff series. Again, and I think a lot of that had to do with Nick Leddy being absent. So I think if Leddy returns and Kaprizov can continue to play to his elite status, that just further cements his place as a superstar, not just in Minnesota, but a superstar in the league. I mean, I think he's got that conversation begun, and the better he performs in the playoffs, the better that conversation gets for him.
And since we last talked, hello, little person. Who is that beside you there?
This is my kiddo Hudson. He big hockey fan. He was bummed that he didn't get to attend hockey with me today because he certainly enjoys it as well, but he hasn't been feeling the hottest, so he's hanging out with me today, listening to mommy and watch mommy do all her work stuff.
What a great way to raise your kid. Listen, there's nothing new on Fleury past this season. We don't know yet if he's going to re-sign with the Wild.
We don't. I mean, I think the interest is there from both parties. Absolutely. I mean, you have to find the money to make it work, however, because you still have Kevin Fiala, who is not locked up. You got to get money for him. But I think Bill Guerin, he obviously knows Fleury. He loves Fleury, and Fleury's doing well in the playoffs. That's why you brought him in. You've got Cam Talbot, who is still waiting in the wings. And again, in Minnesota here, I don't know if the discussions extended past Minnesota. Minnesota wants Talbot in net because they just felt like he played better down the stretch. And again, I don't think Fleury getting the nod over Talbot is necessarily a knock to Cam, but I think, Marc-Andre Fleury has the pedigree. He knows how to win. He has done it before. He's a future Hall of Famer. And I think the convenience too is his family currently is in Chicago still. So being in Minnesota behooves him. I don't know if the family would relocate to Minnesota if that were to work out. But, Marc-Andre Fleury has been vocal saying he wants to play another year. And so far, I think Minnesota's really enjoyed having him here because, again, as I mentioned, Kirill Kaprizov getting conversation. Marc-Andre Fleury, there's not a player with a name like that that's ever played in Minnesota. So that's just absolutely huge for the organization, for the fan base to have a name in itself like that. And hopefully he can help Minnesota continue this run throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs and work himself into a contract for next year.
Great series. Jessi, you do a great job. I always enjoy chatting hockey with you. My best to you and Hudson, and enjoy the games.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Jessi Pierce, she writes about the Minnesota Wild for NHL.com and talks about the NHL at Bar Down Beauties podcast. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of the Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.